Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We're from Group 2, and today we're going to present our scenario analysis, Intel Corporation's outsourcing dilemma. Next. Meet the team. There's Nadia, Hannah, Naila, Faiz, Zenki, and myself, Rafid. So Intel is facing a crisis, leaving the CEO with three distinct options. Intel Corporation is a California-based vertically integrated semiconductor company founded in 1968. They used to be the undisputed market leader before facing struggle maintaining its position with AMD, NVIDIA, and also TSMC. Intel is having manufacturing delays in production its next-generation chips, with the root cause of technical, cultural, and also strategic. With that comes the dilemma of outsource advanced chip production to competitor like TSMC, giving up Intel's 50-year-old core advantage and facing major political risk, completely spin off Intel's factories, admitting the total failure of its core model and losing control of manufacturing, and also outsource some production to fill gaps while investing heavily into fix its own factories. Next. These are the problem formulation. Using SCQ, we find that Intel designed and manufacturing its own chip using an in-house model. This approach helped Intel lead the industry for many years, and also as technology advanced quickly, Intel began falling behind faster competitors. The complications come to Intel's struggle to produce its chips on time. Customers faced shortage and began losing trust. Apple shifted its chip production to TSMC. Company gained an edge with faster manufacturing. Global political tension increased outsourcing risk, and also several senior leaders left, creating internal instability. With come to the question, what should Intel do to regain its competitive position in the global chip industry? Next. These are the system diagram. Using the accelerometer framework, we find to analyze structure and test strategic decisions. We find that the problem owner of this is Intel CEO. With their goal of address Intel's critical manufacturing issues and delays immediately, we regain technological leadership and also increase company valuation. We find that the first one, the external factors with market growth, competitor market share, and also geopolitical risk, with the lever of investment costs of R&D, overhead costs, marketing and general administrative, and also pricing and product mix. For the financial model, there are three, operating income, net income, and also earning per share. And lastly, the metrics that we are going to analyze is operating profit margin, cost of sales ratio, and also net revenue growth. Next.
Okay, so moving on to the variables identification. In these sections, we identify the key variables that influence Intel's outsourcing dilemma. Okay, next. Okay, so for this table, summarizes the variables we identified to further analysis. We classify each variable under the pastels plus category to ensure we cover the full external environment. Then we label the type as either exogenous or endogenous to separate factors outside Intel's control from internal factors Intel can influence. And finally, we mark whether each variable is measurable and or observable, so we only carry forward drivers we can quantify or reliably track for scenario building. Next. 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 Okay, so for this data collection review, after identifying variables, we validated our inputs for scenario modeling using the XLRM framework, making sure we can connect external factors, internal levels, and the performance metrics we want to evaluate. We use several data sources, including internal case information, financial data, external environment inputs from Pastel Plus, and industry benchmarks. We also cross-check consistency and align each variable to the right performance metrics to keep the model interpretable. Next. Okay, so to decide which variables matter most for scanner building, we use an impact uncertainty matrix and focus on the high impact and high uncertainty quadrant. These priority drivers are the ones that shape our scenarios, especially around manufacturing recovery, outsourcing decisions, geopolitical constraints, and technology leadership. Next.
Now, moving on to the scenario development. In this stage, we will try to identify the scenarios that could be happening to Intel in the future. Next. Using the input variables that was obtained from the impact uncertainty matrix, we used it to develop 3 paths in order to generate the scenarios later. We managed to get path 1, which is a severe disruption, and then path 2, which is an optimistic stabilization, and lastly path 3, which is a structural decline. Next. The following shows the account affected on each path with respect to the input variables. Next. Now, this shows the financial models of Intel on certain financial aspects throughout the year, where from 2017 to 2020, it will be considered as the historical data. And onwards from 2021 to 2024, it will be considered as the forecast period. According to the cost of sales graph, it shows that in the earlier stage, it experienced a consistent growth. Boleh mundur dulu. Can move to the previous slide. Previous slide again. Okay, so on the cost of sales, it experienced a constant increase, and same goes to the forecast period. While on the R&D cost, it experienced a stable flow on the historical year, while it starts to increase on the forecast period. Next. Now goes to the operating income. It shows a slight dip in 2019 before going to a linear increase in the forecast period. And for the net revenue, it experienced a constant increase of around 13%, and it goes the same way for the rest of the year. Next. Now, with that in hand, we finally managed to develop the 3 scenarios, starting with scenario 1, which is a severe external disruption. There happens a geopolitical shock and supply chain fragmentation that results in the percentage changes that will show how it affects each account with these percentages. Next. Now, the impact of scenario 1 shows as follows, where on the operating profit margin, it results in a slight decrease in overall, while on cost of sales ratio, it shows a slight increase, while on the net revenue growth, it shows a bigger decline. Next. Moving on to scenario 2, which is an optimistic stabilization. It happens a manufacturing recovery and a controlled technology raise. And the percentage changes shows how each account is affected with the following percentages. Next. Now the operating profit margin shows very slight changes, while on the cost of sales ratio, it shows a overall increase with around 4%, while on the net revenue growth, it shows a very slight increase in net revenue growth. Next. Next slide. Okay, now on to scenario 3, which is a realistic structural decline. It shows a TSMC leapfrog, and the operating profit margin shows a decrease in 2%, while the cost of sales ratio shows a massive increase of around 11%, and the net revenue growth shows a significant 20% decrease. Next.
Okay, moving on to the strategies development stage, where in this stage we identify strategies to help tackle and reduce the uncertainties of each scenarios that we made. Next. Okay, we have the first strategy in response to scenario 1, where this strategy focuses on reducing Intel's structural dependencies on Taiwan by shifting a portion of advanced chip manufacturing to several alternatives. Next. The impact that strategy 1 has on scenario 1 is a slight increase of 2% on its operating profit margin, a decrease on its cost of sales ratio, and a slight increase on its overall net revenue growth. Next. Here we have the strategy to help response and tackle scenario 1 by how it pivots from stabilization to aggression. Next. Strategy 1 has impacted scenario 2 slightly by it decreases the operating profit margin slightly, and it also decreases the cost of sales ratio by 3%, but it has an overall net revenue growth of an increase by 0.9%. Next. We have the last strategy here, strategy 3, to help tackle scenario 3, where it pivots from defensive stabilization to structural realignment, accelerating technology upgrades, restoring cost efficiency, and strengthening OEM relationships. Next. Okay, the impact of strategy 3 to scenario 3 is that it has a slight impact on the operating profit margin by increasing by over 6%. It also made a slight increase on its cost of sales ratio by 2% and an increase as well on its overall net revenue growth. Next.
After evaluating the impact of each individual strategy under different scenarios, we then move to the strategy combination stage. The goal here is to explore whether combination strategies can reduce uncertainty better than applying a single strategy in isolation. These combinations allow Intel to respond more flexibly across different future conditions. Next. On the slide, we show how the 3 primary strategies are combined into more comprehensive strategic options. Each combined strategy integrates actions from different scenarios to address multiple risks at the same time, such as geopolitical risk, technology gaps, and cost pressure. These combinations help us test more realistic multidimensional responses. Next. Before evaluating the combinations, we briefly recap the 3 primary strategies. Strategy 1 focuses on diversifying foundry partnerships to reduce geopolitical risk. Strategy 2 emphasizes aggressive R&D acceleration and OEM ecosystem lock-in to drive growth. And Strategy 3 targets structural realignment and technology acceleration to address long-term competitiveness issue. Next, we introduce Strategy 4, 5, and 6. 4, 5, 6, and 7. Strategy 4, called sovereign expansion, secures Intel's supply base first and then pushes for market recovery. Strategy 5, defensive leapfrog, takes a survival-first approach by cutting non-essential activities and concentrating resources on a major technology jump. Next. Slide sebelumnya. Strategy 6, aggressive transition, prioritizes short-term cash generation while skipping incremental fixes to move directly to advanced nodes. And Strategy 7, the all-in reset, is the most aggressive option, where Intel commits fully to ensuring OEM lock-in and large-scale R&D investment. These strategies carry higher risk but also higher potential impact. Next. To objectively compare strategies, we apply a weighted scoring system. Net revenue growth receives the highest weight at 0.4, as regaining market demand is critical for Intel's survival. Cost of sales ratio is weighted at 0.35 to reflect manufacturing efficiency, while operating profit margin is weighted at 0.25. Next. Under the business as usual scenario, Strategy 2 performs best overall. It delivers the strongest balance between revenue growth and cost efficiency, with an average net revenue growth of about 7.5%. This shows that aggressive ecosystem lock-in is most effective in a stable environment. Next. This decision matrix confirms the BAU result. Strategy 2 ranks first after applying the weighted scores, outperforming other strategies in both revenue growth and cost control. Therefore, Strategy 2 is the recommended option under normal operating conditions. Next.
For scenario 1, which represents a geopolitical shock, different priorities emerge. Strategy 5 delivers the strongest end-state operating profitability, making it the most margin-accretive option. Strategy 2 maintains the lowest cost of sales ratio, while Strategy 6 offers the best balance of revenue stability with an average annual net revenue growth of 3.9%. This shows that resilience and diversification are more important than pure growth under external disruption. Next. Next.
Let's move to the scenario 1 decision matrix. This slide show how each strategy performed under scenario 1 using a weighted decision metric. We prioritize net revenue growth at 40%, followed by cost of sale efficiency and operating margin. When we aggregate the scores margin, the scores, strategy 7 clearly ranked first. Why? It does not maximize a single metric, but does not maximize as but it performs consistently across all three in disruption heavy environment. Balance matters more than optimization. Strategy 7 minimize downside risk while maintaining revenue protection, which is exactly what Intel needs when supply chains and foundry access are unstable. Next. Let's move the scenario 2 strategies implementation. In scenario 2, we simulate a more stable but competitive recovery environment. The chart showed that strategy 5 temporarily boosts margins through aggressive running, but at the cost of long-term growth. Strategy 2 stands out differently. It improves cost efficiency through scale while simultaneously driving revenue via OEM lock-ins. The key insight here is trade-off management strategy to avoid extreme constraint and instead stabilizes operation while rebuilding growth momentum. Next. This for our scenario 2 decision matrix. This matrix confirms the visual trends from previous slide. Strategy to rank first with the highest total weight score. It dominates cost of sale and net revenue growth. Even if operating margin is not absolute best, the implication is clear. In a moderate recovery scenario, Intel should not over prioritize short-term margin maximization. Skewing demand and fixing manufacturing economics creates a more durable turnaround. Next. This for scenario 3 strategies implementation. Scenario 3 represent a high pressure turnaround with severe demand shock. Here, most strategies suffer sharp declines before partial recovery. Strategy 3 achieve the lowest cost of sales and strategy 5 delivers the highest operating margin at the end state. However, strategy 3 also delivers the strongest revenue recovery. This tells us that in extreme scenarios, revenue stabilization become the dominant survival lever, even if margins temporarily suffer. Next. Here are the scenario 3 decision metrics. When we weight the outcome strategy 7 rank first again, despite weaker operating margins, it produces net revenue growth, which carries the highest weight. This result is counterintuitive but critical. Is crisis condition, Intel cannot optimize its way out through cost control alone. Strategy 7 accept margin pressure to preserve scale, relevance, and long-term competitive. Next. This for our common strategy summary. This slide consolidate all scenarios. A pattern marked in stable or moderate recovering environment. Strategy 2 consistently perform best by balancing efficiency and growth. In disruption heavy scenarios, strategy 7 dominates by maximizing resilience and revenue protection. There is no single universal strategy. Intel's strategic advantage come from scenario adaptability, not rigid commitment to one operating the model. So this for our overall conclusion. So what should Intel do to regain its competitive position? The answer is conditional strategy alignment. In stable environments, Intel should execute a strategy to lock in OAMAs, scale efficiently, and sustain R&D coordination. In this environment, Intel must shift to strategy 7, ensuring ecosystem control and aggressive long-term investment. The real value will be treating uncertainty as noise instead of a strategic input. Intel's win not by guessing the future, but being structural, prepared for multiple futures. Maybe that's all from us. Thank you.